GitHub allows anyone to access the LLM at X.AI. At least 60 datasets related to Tesla are accessible. Hello, this is Error. You know Elon Musk's X.AI, right? Numerous reports have emerged, suggesting that an API key from X.AI was inadvertently leaked. This situation allowed access to a wide range of LLMs that are utilized by both SpaceX and Tesla, which could potentially lead to significant issues. Although there has yet to be any confirmation, the exposure persisted for nearly 2 months. Some of you might not know what an API key is, so it's important to first understand what went wrong and why this is a significant problem. Let's break it down step by step to make it clearer. First, we will discuss the sequence of events, including the role of the API key in LLMs, the nature of what was exposed on GitHub, and the reasons why immediate action was not taken. These are the key concerns we will address. First, according to the article, something was leaked from Elon Musk's company, X.AI. This wasn't a hacking incident, but rather something went wrong. It has come to light that a private key was inadvertently exposed on GitHub. For nearly 2 months, this private key granted unrestricted access to X.AI's LLMs, enabling anyone to potentially misuse the systems without any hindrance. You might think, so what if someone accessed the LLMs? But the real issue is, it seems that the LLMs employed by SpaceX, Tesla, and X were all accessible, which includes a wide array of LLMs that could potentially contain sensitive information. When I talk about APIs, I often use examples like Naver Map from Naver Cloud Platform. Many Koreans use Naver Map, right? But let's think from a developer's viewpoint, not just as regular users. Consider a developer aiming to build an app that uses map functionalities. Would that developer go through the effort of creating each map detail entirely from scratch? Certainly. While some developers might decide to create maps from scratch, they also have the option to use existing map data from services like Naver. By integrating Naver Maps into their application, developers can effectively utilize the map data in a manner that is tailored to their specific usage requirements, and as a result, they will compensate Naver based on the level of service utilization. Fortunately, Naver Maps offers up to 6 million uses for free, which is clearly specified in their terms. Therefore, developers can utilize Naver Maps as a foundational element to create features such as search functionalities within the map. And similar to how logging in requires an ID, password, and two-factor authentication, developers need to manage their costs if their usage surpasses 6 million instances, which will subsequently result in additional charges. The developers have a key, which is known as an API key. Think of it as a key. It measures the extent to which a specific service is used and functions similarly to a password for the developer. This is precisely why API keys should remain confidential and not be exposed publicly, because if they are made public, other developers could exploit them for various extensive activities. As a result, the original developer could end up being billed for the usage by others. Take Grok 3 from X.AI, for example. It has an API that's currently accessible. It works much like the chatbot-based LLM services we're accustomed to using. Grok 3, Gemini, and ChatGPT are all developed through the use of APIs, which means developers do not have to construct these large language models entirely from scratch. Rather than building these LLMs from the ground up, developers utilize the APIs provided for models like Grok 3, Gemini, or GPT. These APIs enable developers to take advantage of pre-existing models and integrate them into their own projects seamlessly. In terms of billing, it is typically based on the amount of text that gets processed, with a variety of models available to accommodate different needs. There are versions like Grok 3 Beta, Grok 2 Vision, and Grok 2 Image. Now, developers have API keys to access and use Grok 3, but what exactly should we be worried about in this situation? It seems there has been an unfortunate event where the API key, granting access to the entire X.AI system, was exposed. If you look at the wording, it means that the personal key allowing access to X.AI's LLM is available on GitHub for anyone to see. This isn't just any key. Rather, there's a company known as Geek Guardian that specializes in detecting and alerting about security issues. They have already issued a warning regarding this matter. They found that the API key had been exposed, and after looking into it, they discovered it granted access to at least 60 datasets. The problem was that it had been left openly accessible on GitHub. This key, which provides access to even those LLMs that have not been published yet, was unfortunately made publicly available on GitHub. What's even more alarming is that Grok, for example, is a model used for training data at SpaceX. This situation suggests that there is a possibility that certain large language models, or LLMs, could potentially be trained using internal data from SpaceX. And if these models were to incorporate any sensitive rocket technology, it could result in a violation of ITAR, which are the rigorous regulations imposed by the United States concerning the control of technology exports. So the issue is whether an LLM might have been trained on SpaceX data. While it's not confirmed, there's a potential for it. It might not be the case. SpaceX might have utilized some of its internal data to train the model before releasing it. We do not fully know the damage. We are just guessing. There might be more issues. There is also a possibility that new models have been trained using data from Tesla. This issue goes beyond Tesla. It's a bigger concern with the current US-China tensions. What if China used this API key? These are the concerns being raised. Another interesting point is there's an LLM called Tweet Rejector. Some users within the community have suggested that this particular model might be designed to filter out content that is critical of Elon Musk, or certain opinions that are not favorable towards him, and upon further investigation into this company known as GitGuardian, it becomes evident that numerous companies actively monitor for such external leaks. They use specialized services like GitGuardian for this purpose. But the bigger problem is that the leak was discovered on March 2nd. GitGuardian warned X.AI about it on March 2nd. They sent a warning email saying, "Hey, it looks like there's been a leak," but nothing changed for almost 2 months until April 30th. Despite the warning, X.AI didn't take any action for 2 months. But here's the surprising part. There's a suggestion to use a program called HackerOne, which means GitGuardian was telling them, "Hey, there's an issue here. Take some action." So, how did the X.AI security team respond? They essentially responded with, "Report it through HackerOne." In other words, they were saying, "This isn't our problem." This response is seen as highly inappropriate. That's the issue here. Now here is a document from IBM that summarizes prompt injection and highlights these concerns. Prompt injection is a technique that involves asking the AI some cleverly crafted questions, such as inquiring whether an AI chatbot can reveal its password, or if there's any information related to Grok or SpaceX. Through such role-playing, there's a possibility of accessing internal models using the leaked key. This kind of prompt injection attack is a concern. And it's not just that. Large language models can be manipulated in various ways. While communicating through the API does not immediately reflect any training based on that specific information, it is important to note that if such data were to accumulate over a prolonged period, it could potentially skew the learning process of the large language model, especially if X.AI were to utilize it extensively. Furthermore, there are concerns about internal details or content linked to SpaceX. Is this just a simple mistake, or does it point to a more significant structural issue within X.AI? The latter scenario appears to be more likely, considering that the key leak itself is indeed an issue, but the bigger problem lies in the fact that no action was taken despite multiple warnings. 2 months is an incredibly long time for the leak to have gone unnoticed. Moreover, with the recent disclosures about Elon Musk's interactions with the government through the Department of Justice, it is likely that Americans are feeling increasingly uneasy. As AI systems persist in their efforts to learn from data that is becoming increasingly sensitive, while simultaneously employing a variety of advanced techniques to extract information, it becomes imperative for us to critically assess whether our personal information, along with data at the national or organizational levels, is genuinely secure. During ongoing attempts to hack through AI, the fact that an API key was accidentally leaked raises significant concerns. Some even speculate it might have been intentional, while some believe it was simply an unintentional error. The vast access to large language models, LLMs, makes it appear much too perilous for it to have been deliberate. As we increasingly favor convenience, the likelihood of leaks involving personal or sensitive organizational data escalates, thereby underscoring the mounting significance of cybersecurity companies. It's essential for both businesses and individuals to focus more on securing their systems effectively. On Unreal Engineering's Instagram, we post various news updates and entertaining videos. Hips Coffee and Unreal Engineering are at the Hyundai Seoul pop-up store. They offer space-themed drinks, cakes, and bread. Unreal Engineering merchandise is available for purchase. We're also offering Unreal Science merchandise. And today, Orbit, Yang, and Star are stopping by. If you want to meet them or happen to see me, do not hesitate to say hello. This has been Error.